Hi, this is Lee McHugh. I get asked occasionally for some video guidance on how to use SCraMP, so that is what I am recording right now, just a little video tutorial on how you would use the small craft motion program. So I've launched the app here. The landing screen provides the acceleration data that's coming out of your phone. You can adjust what you want that vertical axis to be. Say you're comfortable with half a G of acceleration, you make it half a G. If you're comfortable with larger accelerations, you type in whatever you like, but that is just scaling it. And you can see now, as I move my phone up and down, you can see that it's showing that heave acceleration, heave being in the vertical direction. If I move my phone side to side, then I've got sway. And if I move my phone forward and backwards, then I've got surge. And if you only want to view one of those at a time, you can tap surge, sway, or heave. The gyroscope screen is very similar. So this, again, you can set however much roll you're comfortable with. Say you're okay with 3 degrees. And I said roll if I'm only worrying about roll at the time. Roll being the red line. I can make that a little bit bigger number since I'm just holding this in my hand and it's hard to do small angles. So I just made it 45. Hopefully your boat's not actually rolling 45 degrees, but this is just to show how it would work. So that red line is giving the roll motion. Pitch is the green line, so that's your bow going up and down. And yaw is the blue line. And so I need to rotate around in order to see that yaw motion. And again, if I only want to view roll, pitch, or yaw, I can view them in isolation. Safety metrics, I think, is what most people are most excited about with this app. You have 5 different options here, and each one allows you to customize a little bit. So the first one is an index, where you can input however much roll you're comfortable with, however much pitch you're comfortable with, and however much heave you're comfortable with. So roll and pitch are both in degrees, heave is in Gs, and that's going to give you your own customized index. So that as you're moving, you go between this green, yellow, and red range. Now, if you wanted an audible warning, if you click on the info tab, you can turn on audible warnings. Some of the feedback I've gotten from fishermen was that people wanted an audible warning, but they didn't want it to sound like anything that any other alarm sounds like. So I created these 2 recording files, one called pan. This was me literally banging on a pan, and the other one I called nag. Danger, danger, danger. And it's, again, me saying danger. So the sound files are definitely different from anything else that you have anywhere else. If you leave the pan selection on and go back to this, then you'll see when things are in the red, it starts beeping on the pan. Turn that back off. So that's the index. GM, this I always want to stress to people, it's a nominal GM. So your actual GM does change when you're in waves, but this is giving you sort of a calm water equivalent, or an estimate of what it would be if you were in calm water. But if you enter the GM of the boat, or if you enter the beam of the boat, the default here was 20 feet. Well, make it, let's say 8 feet. We're going to say we're a smaller boat. And enter minimum and maximum GMs that you're comfortable with. It's going to tailor your index based on that. And every roll cycle, it's going to give you an updated estimate of what your GM is, again, giving you that green, yellow, or red kind of indicator. If you don't know your GM, if you don't have a stability book that tells you what minimum and maximum should be, that's fine. You don't actually need to enter that. It's just helping tailor what the output is. Similarly, if you're not as comfortable with GM, but you are comfortable with the notion of your roll period, if you enter on the period metric, what roll periods you're comfortable with. Say the smallest roll period that you like is 4 seconds, and smaller than that, it gets really snappy, and the biggest that you like is 8 seconds. That's tailoring these axes, and now it's going to give you that same sort of green, yellow, red if you're either below or above that. I'm needing to manually roll a little bit slower. Do one more that's longer than 4 seconds. And then you see it crossed into the green. Parametric roll, this is a specific phenomenon that's a pitch roll kind of coupled instability. And so this is just trying to compare a measure of what your roll period is to your pitch period to identify if you might be in a parametric roll kind of situation. If you ever find that you're in head Cs, but you seem to be rolling a lot, that could be this phenomenon that's parametric roll. And to learn more about that, please shoot me a note. I'm always happy to talk through the physics behind this with anybody. Motion sickness, this is one that's looking at what your heave period is and your peak heave accelerations to try to give a sense as to whether or not you are in the kind of heave period and accelerations that are prone to making people sick. The location tab gives you your heading, your lat lon, so you all now know where my office is pretty precisely, and gives you a compass rose. You're not seeing anything for speed or course over ground right now because I'm just sitting in a chair. But if you're moving, you would see that. And lastly, the record tab lets you record all of this. So if you wanted to turn recording on, if you don't want to be watching this in real time, but you're interested to look at it afterwards, you can turn record on. You'll see that red box then goes on, and you'll see the red box on all your other screens in that upper left-hand corner to let you know that you're recording. When you pause it, you can then email the data to yourself or save the data. If you save the data, you can pull it off through iTunes. If you email it, you can just send it right to yourself. If you're finding the file size is large, you can change what the recording rate is. So you can just slow that down to, say, 5 hertz instead of 50 hertz. And then you're going to be collecting data less frequently. It's going to make the file size more under control. Similarly, if you're not in a position to be monitoring this, you can turn on autosave, which will just automatically save what the recording is doing about every 15 minutes. And that makes it a little bit more hands-off. So that is SCraMP.